Never rely on one of anything, one relationship, one friendship, one stream of income. If you want to increase your magnetism, you have to bring something to the table. I keep increasing my goals so I have bigger targets and bigger accomplishments.
Thank you so much, Nick, for joining us, the experts with Alka. This show brings entrepreneurs together who are making, moves, dynamic moves in their industry, in their space. So, as the expert is truly the place that you want to be, and Alka is going to interview guests that come on who are doing really well in this space. And I think that's what it's all about, entrepreneurs who come together, who are like-minded, and to bring value to others around. So, Nick, welcome to As the Expert with Alka. How is everything with you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing very good. Thanks. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure. Nick and I, we've known each other. We belong to the same community, the 10X community by Grant Cardone. And a lot of the viewers, Grant Cardone. So Nick and I, that's when we first met. So it truly has been quite an inspiration that, Nick is and for what he is doing. And so I'm just going to read what Nick has done, a little bit about his bio, because, truly Nick, because when it comes to entrepreneurs and when it comes to entrepreneurship, I truly believe that entrepreneurs always have that mindset of overcoming challenges, but overcoming and having the drive to where they are and where they want to go. So Nick, he first of all, his background has been in the automotive industry, and he was a salesperson in the dealership. So, and after he left the dealership, he began to get involved with the 10X community, Grant Cardone's licensee. And that is what I want to talk about today. So he's worked with many clients in Canada and the US, and now in the UK. So Nick, you were just sharing, before we just came on the air, you talked about you just signed up a client in the UK, but also your big client that you just signed up is furniture, and that's in Canada, or is that in the US?
Yeah, it's based out of Canada.
Okay, well, do you want to share with the viewers, how did you get that gig? How did that go about?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always just as an entrepreneur and somebody who's doing something similar to me, you're always want to get new connections, meet new people, and it's continuously filling up your pipeline, getting in front of new people, making connections,
yes,
nurturing relationships.
Exactly, nurturing relationships, and I absolutely love that. So, because if you don't nurture relationships, you meet people. We meet people every single day of our lives, whether it's at a conference, at a meeting, you're having coffee with someone. Online, get virtual coffee, or it could be in-person coffee like Nick and I, we had. Yeah. But, if you don't, the point of this show is entrepreneur and entrepreneurship. They are always looking for opportunities. So Nick, do you believe that an entrepreneur you've got to be hustling, you've got to be grinding, you've got to be, making those moves? How important do you think when it comes to your mindset? I mean, as a coach, how important do you think that is?
Yeah, it's very important. You've got to want to do it. It has to come from within. And you always have to be talking to people. And the one thing I want to really discuss and focus and put an emphasis on is pipeline. And it's continuing to build and continue.
There you are, Nick.
Hi. Technical difficulties, I suppose.
Technical difficulties, exactly. It happens, technology. Yeah. And, it's a Friday, so we like to have fun. That's another part of entrepreneur, Nick, is you got to go with the flow. Like what just happened just now, right? This slight technical glitch. And technology, as we know, sometimes, it does not always cooperate when we want. But as an entrepreneur, we need to go with the flow. Just go with it. Yeah. And you came back. We lost you for a second, but you came back.
Well, that's why never rely on one of anything. Never rely on one feed, one stream. Like I've done some webinars. I don't just rely on one system. Don't just rely on Zoom. Maybe have a backup, or do it on multiple places in case one fails. Never rely on one of anything. One relationship, one friendship, one stream of income, one person, one source of so for anything. And you can use that principle. I've learned that from Grant across the board for so many things. I'm never dependent on one of anything, because people are going to flake out. Things are going to fail.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's true, because you don't know when, some people, they seem like on the surface, like I'm talking about my experience. I'm talking about my experience, that people, I meet people and, it could be fine, like, at an event, and people on the surface, they seem, oh yeah, I'd like to keep in touch, blah, blah, blah. And you may not see them. It doesn't matter how much of that nurturing that you're doing, or no matter how much that you tend to also give value. But some people don't want to give that value back. And there's nothing that you can do about it. Or what would you say to that, Nick? How would you approach that if someone that you try to reach out and then they didn't?
Okay, well, basically, how much time do you want to invest? So a lot of things, not only people, a lot of things are superficial. And they might not always appear to be what they appear to be on the surface. So if you meet somebody at a conference or a group or something like that, they might not have the same intention. They might have their own personal agenda, good or bad. But I mean, it's like any relationship. If I'm pouring into it and you're not getting anything reciprocated, you're not in alignment with those people. So how much time do I want to invest in somebody, whether it's a person, place, or a thing, if they're not, if it's not like a two-way street, or if I'm getting anything back, like if they're not reciprocating anything to me? Exactly. Yeah, and it's not just, I'm not like, I give, I over deliver. These aren't just cliches that I'm saying. But you just want to ask yourself, if there's nothing from the other person, and they're not interested, you just need to move on and invest your time in something that's going to be worthwhile for you. That's worth your time. If somebody's not interested, I mean, my philosophy is I just move on. You can't force somebody to be interested in you.
You can't. No, you can't. That's so true. You can't force anyone to do anything. But you know what? It's like, there were times like in the past, and I would, not that I would be latching onto that person. It's not that I was, it's not that I was like doing anything wrong, but sometimes when we're in that space, we just don't realize as to what we are doing. We don't realize as to what's happening in that moment. And it's always, and so I was getting burnt. I was getting so burnt out in the sense that I was the one who would maybe reach out to that person, to reach out to people, and some would, and I'm not saying that no one did, but some would reach out, but it was like, I was the one constantly doing that. So there comes a point that's like, okay, well, enough is enough. Yeah. Maybe I just don't want to. Maybe I just want to sort of sit back and then see what happens. Do you find that, as a coach, that is what we should be doing? Or how do you advise your clients? Because it comes down to, again, the mindset. So we talk about
advise my clients to what? Like, what's your question exactly?
So the question is, like, if you are the one constantly, and we're talking about nurturing, we're talking about people, right? So if you're the one constantly doing everything, but you're not getting that back.
So I would work on myself becoming more of a quality person. If you want to increase your magnetism, you have to bring something to the table. So if you want to meet remarkable people, you yourself have to become a remarkable person. So obviously, like, maybe there's something that I'm failing to do, or I'm not, there's something, maybe I don't have enough substance, or there's not the synergies, because what I'm bringing might not be what those people are looking for. If I don't have anything, you need to have altitude.
Yes.
When you speak to people, so there's something that attracts them, so you can speak to them, or you have to have a lot of common ground or commonality. right?
Exactly.
So if you want to meet more people, I mean, you have to become an interesting person or have something that they're going to be interested in, and vice versa. Like when you can't force somebody to love you, you can't force somebody to like you.
Mm-hmm.
And just ask yourself, like, if maybe I'm not like, because lots of people aren't that interesting. And if I'm not coming across that interesting, why are people going to give me their time, their energy, their effort, their communication, far less than invest their hard-earned money to spend with me?
Exactly. And I love what you just said. You got to have that altitude. And I love that because, and it comes down to also, the similar aspect, like, I believe in having the gratitude, having the attitude, sorry, of gratitude, because if you're not grateful, for who you are, and I think that's an important point. What you just mentioned, Nick, is that you need to work on yourself and
Yeah.
working on ourselves. It's constant. You're always going to be working on yourself. Would
Yeah.
you
Like,
say you've arrived, or it's constant
no,
evolving?
I'm constantly evolving and I'm working towards my potential. And I
Mhm.
want to improve the quality of myself as like Nick as a person.
Yes.
But then, maybe the places I'm going, maybe the places I'm surrounding myself around, maybe the environments I'm in, I'm not attracting those that are like-minded. So I want to go in different rooms where people are trying to improve their condition, where people are trying to get to another level, or where people are interested in growth. And I want to surround myself with like-minded. So
Mhm.
if I'm not finding those people, maybe I need to give myself a little checkup from the neck up and check my my environment, my atmosphere.
Yes.
What situations am I putting myself in? Where
Exactly.
where am I going? What groups am I a part of?
Mhm.
Right?
Because it's where you are going or where you want to go. You never know. That's what those people are. You will find those people in those rooms, but you're not going to find that if you don't make the effort.
Yeah, and that's why you got to talk to a lot of people. I think I think we're surrounded by average, and I really believe there's a low level of quality people out there. They could be good people,
Mhm.
but I think we're surrounded by average. So you have to seek them out if that's what you're seeking. If you want to get around more quality people, you yourself have to become a higher quality person, and then you will attract that. Right? So you got to invest in yourself.
Mhm.
And then you got to take the actions, and you need to put yourself in the environments. So you have to have substance, right? The more substance I find, then
Mhm.
when I come across other people that are similar to me, we attract each other. Yeah.
Exactly. And then it just kind of clicks, and then you find, oh my gosh, where was this person my whole life? You're like, because you don't know.
Yeah.
So, Nick, I want to ask you, as an entrepreneur, you
Mm-hmm.
worked in the sales industry, in the dealership,
Mm-hmm.
and you progressed your way from that, and
Mm-hmm.
today you are Grant Cardone's licensee.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you talked about, okay, it's very important to having that altitude, because if you don't have the altitude, you don't know if that attitude that you have
Mm-hmm.
are those other people
Mm-hmm.
you are also attracting to, because
Mm-hmm.
it's all about the attraction. And then, so as you have seen your life,
Mm-hmm.
what would you say have been the biggest accomplishments that you've had thus far to where you are today?
I'd say self-determinism.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, right? Self-determinism, just being determined, working towards my full potential. And on my personal journey, the biggest accomplishment that I have, that I would definitely say, was permanently giving up alcohol. It's been almost 5 years ago, and that
Oh,
was
that's
one of the.
great. Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you. Like for me, so it's not a monetary thing.
Mhm.
It's not financial. It's not money. It's not real estate. Um, the biggest thing for me was permanently giving up alcohol.
That's
That's
amazing.
my personal biggest accomplishment.
That is so good, because I know that can be very difficult, giving up alcohol, drugs,
Mm-hmm.
smoking.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes an addiction. And
Mm-hmm.
just like, Grant Cardone, he has gone through his own life, his own challenges that he had,
Mm-hmm.
and he wanted to quit. So, habit is always a habit. And no matter how much we say to ourselves that today is that day, I'm going to give up, but we don't give up. So what was that? What was in you to say, okay, this is the day I'm just going to quit? No matter what, I've been saying to myself, I'm going to quit, but this is it. I'm going to quit. What was that
100%.
mind shift, that mind change?
Well, I failed thousands of times. Like I failed thousands of times, but it's ultimately my self-determinism. So basically what I had to do is I had to make a decision. If you want to change anything, you have to make a decision.
You got to decide, yes.
That's the number one thing. So I had to decide, and then I had to take back control of my mind. So if you want to do something, you make a decision. Well, how do you make a decision? You control your mind. If you can't control your mind, you can't control anything else.
Exactly, because that is, you've already sort of accepted defeat, because one, you didn't decide as to you wanted to quit that day. And then, so if you can't decide, then you've already had that setback. Would you agree that you've already then let yourself down, because then that's when that setback came?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the biggest thing was I was always saying, like, I'm going to stop, I'm going to cut it back, I'm in control. But I had to be honest with myself. I had to be brutally honest, and I wasn't in control of it. I was still very highly productive. I was, quote unquote, from the outside, it was probably like a secret. No, I was successful, but I didn't like myself who I became as a person. And it wasn't until I made the decision, I'm not just going to stop for a week, I'm not just going to stop for a month, that it clicked for me overnight after drinking daily for 25 years. That I'm permanently going to stop. I made the decision to not stop for today, to stop forever. And that's when my commitment. So I made a decision backed by commitment.
That is amazing. And I would also take it one step further. Willpower. Now, willpower is huge, because a lot of people, they say they want to do one thing. They say whether it's, they want to have a new business, or they want to get into a new career, or they want to, whatever the case may be. But you gotta, action is one thing, and you got to take the risk. But would you say willpower alone, I mean, action, taking the risk, especially if you want to have a new business, would you say willpower also is the secret ingredient that makes you successful?
No, definitely not. I think you need more than that. I think that's one ingredient in the recipe, but that's going to be challenged, right? So you need to have goals. You need to have goals, so big, your problems pale in comparison. That's from Grant Cardone. Okay, but I have goals that are bigger than my problems, and I'm always working towards my goals. I pay attention to what I'm paying attention to. Okay, so it's top of mind. I do write them down twice daily. When I'm on my A game, I do write my goals down twice daily. But I keep increasing my goals, so I have bigger targets and bigger accomplishments. So all my goals from the past, they've actually come to fruition. So I would say not only to write your goals, but keep increasing your goals so you have bigger goals to work towards. Don't just stop.
And I love that. I love that, because we need to have consistently having those bigger goals.
Absolutely.
Because it doesn't matter then, because we see those big goals, we know where we want to aim to, right? So, and then when we have problems, those problems seem small in comparison to the big goals that we're seeing, that we want to do, that we're desiring. So that's why it's important. So would you say that's why it's important to have the bigger goals, so the viewers, they also can implement on just constantly reviewing the big goals? So would you say that the bigger goals, you always need to keep striving? And how important is having the bigger goals, bigger audacious goals?
Well, it's very important, because if you set small targets, I mean, what if you hit them? And it all depends what you want. Not everybody's going to want the same things. Lots of people are very happy settling. Lots of people are happy being average, or they're superficial. So it all depends what you want for yourself.
True.
Do you want to be happy? Do you want to be fulfilled? Do you want to be entertained? Do you want to be comfortable? So you need to be brutally honest with yourself. For me, I know I'm far from my full potential. So I'm working towards that. That fuels me, that motivates me, that gives me purpose. For somebody else, their goal might just be, so when I was younger, my goal was just to have my own apartment, to move out from my parents' place. So I'd have my own space.
Right.
And, as a young man, my goal was having my own transportation. but you know, that like my goals are bigger now. I want to help people. I improve the lives of other people. I want to make an impact. I want to share my knowledge so they can improve their condition.
Right.
They're bigger goals. So it all depends what's important for you as an individual and what you're working towards. If you're working towards anything, you know, average people probably don't have many goals at all. Their goal is eat lunch, you know, and sit on an in an air conditioned room.
Or maybe just sitting outside, just drinking wine. I mean, there's
And they're
nothing
happy
wrong
with
that.
no, if that's your goal. So it's each individual is unique. And there's you know, that this is who I am and what I believe in. And it gives me purpose, it gives me fuel. And then I like to help others. And I'm working towards my own potential fuels me.
Absolutely. And I think that is so good because we need to have a purpose because you know, right now, you know, inflation is here. It's not going away anywhere, it's worldwide. So the people often think that even during the economic downturn, we need to contract. But that is not the case. We need to rather expand. It's the expansion and not contraction. How important, Nick, do you find that if we go into the contraction mode, do we limit ourselves to our potential? Are we stopping that potential that we know we have?
I think so, because then it's kind of like a scarcity mindset. I mean, you know, the media and everything like makes it seem like there's not enough to go around. And there are problems and they are crises, but very few people I find are working on producing more. You know, production is the basis for morale. So the more you do, the more you can do. I mean, I don't see many programs. I don't watch a lot of TV or the media, but I pay attention to it. I'm aware of what's going on. They don't really tell many people how to improve their condition, how to improve their financial situation, how to generate more income, how to have freedom and time of movement. How to elevate yourself to your full potential. You know, they make it seem like there's a crisis when I'm not trying to be ignorant, but when gas price changes like a cent a liter or a couple cents a gallon, it's like the whole world's fallen in.
Yeah.
Why aren't they helping people, teaching them success? So I believe as individuals, we have to teach ourselves how to do that. The information is out there. You just have to make a choice if you want to do something about it. But it's much easier for somebody to complain and bitch and complain about the way things are and feel victimized. It's harder to go out and do something. It's harder to go and to create, but the reward is greater. And once you start to do it, you'll generate some successes, and success breeds success. And then you'll get some momentum and you'll get some wins under your belt. And that's my mentality, and that's my philosophy on a daily basis. And that's what I teach my kids. That's what I encourage my clients to do. And that's the message that I bring forward to people. So create more, be more, improve the quality of your conditions. So how are you going to improve the quality of other people if you can't take care and improve your own condition?
That's true. That is so true. You know what? I've heard someone else say that, you know, people often also say that I've heard people is that, you know, I'm a wealth coach. So coaches, I commend you guys, what you do. With every level that you are, a business coach, success coach, or wealth coach, etc. I commend you because that's just awesome work. However, if you are a wealth coach, but you are broke, whether you're broke internally, you're broke financially, you're broke spiritually, on any of those realms, you are broke. How is it possible that you can go out and guide other people when you yourself are broke on every level? Is that possible, right? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, well, it definitely comes down to practicing what you preach. I mean, if you're going to like coach something or teach something or bring it to the table, you should be a living demonstration of that.
Yes.
Right. So that comes back to my initial point. I mean, you have to have the altitude about it. I mean, you can't teach something that you don't know, or people like it won't be sustainable.
It won't be sustainable. And also, you know, people, if you like, we could pretend, anyone can pretend, okay, well, you know, I'm a wealth coach, I am a business coach, I am a success coach. You could say, and you could pretend, but people can sense. And people, you know, it's the energy, it's what we put out and is what we're going to get back. Bob Proctor always talks about the law of reciprocity. And so people can, you know, they can suss you out that, oh no, you're not the true success. So why should I?
Well, if there's no substance, if you don't have any substance and you're not you won't have any sustainability. You need to have substance to have sustainability. And if you're not helping people improve their position personally, professionally, or financially, they're not going to have much use for you, and you won't be around for that long. Like, you won't keep clients for a long term. You won't grow your own business for less somebody else's, and people will see through that, right? So, I mean, there's a lot of pretenders out there.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality of it.
That is the reality. That's right. I mean, it is the world we live in. People, they do fake. They fake themselves. But do you know what? I don't even believe in that whole, fake it till you make it, because there is no such thing. Fake it. Okay, let me just rephrase. Why do we need to fake it? Why fake something? Why, make it yourself rather than faking it?
My mentality is just be real. I'm just myself. What you see is what you get. Like, I don't turn it off and turn it on. I'm Nick all the time. So when you see me, like in public, with my family, in private, with a coach, like, I'm always me. I'm genuine. But I think we're like, in a world, in a society, just like you said, when you were speaking of people, there's a lot of not real people. It's like on the surface, it's superficial. So, I choose not to spend my time or engage those individuals, but you can't eliminate them. They exist. It exists in the world, but we can choose who we spend our time with, who we talk to. We can choose how we want to be and who we associate with, right? So you can control what content you put in your mind. You can control your environment to a degree, and you can choose who you spend your time and associate yourself with too. So, I don't spend a lot of time with people that are pretentious or fake people. Do they exist? Can I get along with them? 100%, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you shouldn't cut people off just because they are fake. But one lesson that I do believe in, and I'm sure you believe the same, is that this saying that keep your enemies close, but keep your friends close. Keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer.
Okay.
Right.
Sure.
And so I began to believe in that. I wasn't in that mindset initially, like before, but now I'm starting to see that. So even with these fake people that you meet at meetings, at events, oh, Alka, hi, they may be genuine, they may be real, or they may be, fake, but keeping yourself, we might say, okay, we don't want to know them, but then we do have to just sometimes just keep ourselves, just not engage with them often. Like
I mean, you can have boundaries, sure. I mean, if I want to, just like somebody, like we still are like in the free world here, in a free society for the time being. If you want to engage with somebody, you can choose to, just like they can choose to engage with us or not. So, I mean, you can have your own boundaries. You can choose to engage with people. They're free to want to engage and talk to you or me. But you're still going to be polite and diplomatic when you see people. Or you can just walk right past people. So we all have freedom of choice, and how we spend our time and our energy. Ultimately, it's up to us at the end of the day, right?
Absolutely. That's why, thank goodness, we do have that freedom of choice. Thank goodness we do have democracy, that we can express our opinions. So Nick, I wanted to touch base on, I mean, I love this engaging, fun conversation.
Sure.
But also coming back to the success that you've had, if you would like to share with our viewers, what is that one trait of a successful entrepreneur? What is that one trait that an entrepreneur needs to have to be successful where they are?
You need to have persistence. Persistence overcomes resistance against yourself, because you're going to have up days. Yeah, you're going to have up days and down days. People are going to say no to you. You probably will fail more than you succeed, especially in the beginning and even along the way. So you have to have that persistence to overcome negativity, the persistence to overcome self-doubt, the persistence to overcome fears, the persistence to stay the course, the persistence to keep doing better, the persistence to have continuous learning, the persistence to stick with it as things change in the world, in business, in the country or city that you're in. You have to be persistent, and you also have to be consistent.
I
Persistently
love that.
consistent. You can't just do it part-time. You can't just half-ass it. You can't do it one day of the week for 2 hours. You need to be consistent, persistently over long periods of time. And it doesn't
Love
just
that.
happen overnight. It's not a one-day thing. It's not a flash in the pan. The people who I've seen have the biggest successes, they've been consistent, they've been persistent over long periods of time. Somebody like a Grant Cardone, somebody like a Tom Brady, somebody like a Jennifer Lopez. I mean, the list goes on and on, like Elon Musk. These people have done consistent actions persistently over long periods of time. And then you also need to take massive actions, right? A little bit of something ain't going to get you nothing. You need to do a lot for a long time.
For a long time.
And not quit, refusing to quit. The only way you can fail is if you quit.
Exactly. Quit. It should not even be, in your vocabulary, because if you're gaining success, you want a success, then you need to always be striving for excellence. You want to be. But Nick, I also feel that an entrepreneur, he or she needs to also show empathy, because, like in the workplace,
Of course.
if your employees are going through problems, right?
Yeah.
They having problems themselves. But if you're not able to empathize on how they are feeling, do you think the employees are going to give their 100% in a job?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. So empathy. So would
Yeah,
you say
that's
empathy?
a good point.
Yeah. So then would you say empathy would also be part of the trait that an entrepreneur needs to have? Like, how well do you listen to them?
Yeah, I mean, you always have to have that. I think it's a great quality to have in any person, not just exclusive to entrepreneurs. I think just being a human, we all need to be empathetic to our fellow man and woman. Absolutely. I understand empathy. I'm an empathetic person, but it's not because I'm an entrepreneur. It's just because, as a person, as a person, I think we all should. And I think if we all were more empathetic, the world would be in a better place. And if we all worked on our own condition, instead of judging other people and trying to fit people in different boxes, or, if we worked on ourselves as individuals, we might have a shot at this whole thing.
Exactly. I mean, just stick to our own lane. Doesn't matter what anyone else, they have their own lane. We have our own lane. And that is important, to stick to our own lane, because in that way, there is no competition. Competition only comes about, do you agree, Nick? Competition only comes about when we start to compete, rather than sticking to our own lane, to our potential, and to our abilities. At least that's what I believe.
Okay.
Stick to your own lane.
I'm not sure what the question is. Is there a question there?
The question was, so as an entrepreneur, right? We talk about not just entrepreneurs, but individuals. You don't need to compete. Competition only comes about when you start to compete with other people, but rather than seeing what is your potential and being in your own lane. What we just
I try to compete against myself. I try not to compare myself to others. I compare, like, for me personally, I compete Nick against Nick, and I'm still working on myself. I'm under construction. So that's the way I look at it,
And I like that, under construction. And that is how it should be. You need to, we always need to just keep on constantly improving on ourselves, because if you're not improving, you're not willing to be constant, then you are going to disintegrate. And friends, that is not where we want to be. So Nick, I'm just going to ask you one final question.
Okay, shoot.
Okay, so with I like what you said, resistance against persistence. So when you start to resist on whatever, so would you say you faced some resistance, like in your past, like you went in the dealership? Were there any resistance that you came about? Or... That's
a whole separate call. I could talk for I spent a long time in that. But absolutely, I've experienced resistance. A lot of the time, people are resistant to change.
Yeah.
They're resistant to new ideas. Yeah. They're resistant to information that they don't know. People are kind of stuck in their lanes, and they want to, and I'm not trying to be judgmental. I mean, I think even me, people are resistant to change, to the unknown, but we are definitely going to experience resistance. So if you ask good questions, you're gonna find people, the resistance is going to go away. It all depends what you're trying to accomplish. Right. But there's resistance to everything. I mean, I asked my wife, where do you want to go for dinner? No, I don't want to go there. my kids get ready for school. There's resistance everywhere.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes, absolutely. But it's how you, when you do face this resistance, is how do you deal with it? And a lot of people may go into that flight or fright mode, or they go into an argument because you can't deal with it.
Okay, so it comes back, you need to have self-determinism. You need to be self-determined, like this is what I actually want. And if you have bigger goals, then you're working towards that. If there's no consequence, if you don't take any action, you're going to do nothing because there's no consequence attached to you taking no action. If there's a consequence, like, okay, well, I resist saving money. Well, if I don't create the money and I don't save it, I'm not going to have anything in the future. I better get my butt up and go generate some income.
And do something, yeah.
Yeah, but if there's no consequence to it, there will be no action. Right?
Exactly.
And we usually resist stuff that we don't like or we don't understand. So when you increase your knowingness and you increase your knowledge, then you're more likely to do something because you understand it. If you don't know, you're scared, or you don't understand it, so you might feel dumb or not as smart. So you're going to resist doing it because you don't understand it. Exactly. So the way to overcome that is to increase your knowledge about it, to learn about it. And that's why I really believe the one thing I'm just going to wrap the call up on is continuous learning, increasing your knowledge, and then that will help you rise on many levels across all areas of your life, whether it's personally, professionally, or financially.
Wonderful. Exactly. And also people then, you resist because then you think, okay, what are people going to think about you? What are they going to say? And then we judge, or we tend to then, you don't feel that people are going to judge you. And that's why we don't tend to do things. We tend to resist. So before we wrap up, Nick, I just want you to share with your viewers, what is that one important ingredient that you have found that in your life has taken you to where you are in your success? And what does success mean? Because success means differently to other individuals. And what does success mean to you? And how can our viewers, what's that one step they need to take?
Well, make a decision. If you want to do anything, you need to make a decision.
Yes.
That's the one step. Make a decision to do it, followed up by action, time, money, and resources, and you'll get the result.
Well, thank you so much, Nick. And friends, you've heard it right there from Nick. The steps
Thank you.
You need to take, you're welcome. The steps that you need to take so that you can have a successful life and business. And that's what we want. And that's what this show, Ask the Experts with Alka, I bring on amazing entrepreneurs who are doing really well in their space. And join me as I bring on amazing guests. So tune in for Ask the Experts with Alka.